Welcome to Learning Task 1 for the Credential Business Modelling. In this learning task, you will be introduced to the Business Model Canvas, which is a tool for exploring and designing a business model. But what exactly is a business model? You can think of a business model as a validated description of how an organisation creates, delivers, and captures value for its customers. This means that the purpose of designing a business model is to work out the most effective way to meet the needs of your customers in a way that is both efficient and profitable for the venture. You can also think of a business model as an integrated system of how the business works. So just like the human body is comprised of different functions such as digestion, respiration, blood circulation, and just like an engine has different components that work together to generate energy, you can think of a business model as the ways that the various different functions of a business work together in order to generate something useful for its customers. Then use the business model canvas as a tool for mapping out these various functions. This is the standard layout of the business model canvas. It has 9 building blocks arranged in this standard way. We can think of the business model canvas as having a left-hand side and a right-hand side. In this learning task, we will be focused on the right-hand side. Another analogy we can use when thinking about the layout of the business model canvas is we can think of it like the front of house and the back of house for a theatre, a hotel, or a shop. The front of house is all the customer-facing functions, so things like the reception, the performance spaces, where items are for sale, and the experience that the customer receives. Back of house is all the behind-the-scenes action that makes the front of house possible. So this includes things like where the excess stock goes, storage space, where equipment lives, where technicians are based, and all the operational activities that make the business function. In the case of the business model canvas, we can think of the right-hand side as the front of house, or the customer-focused parts of the business, while the left-hand side can be thought of as the backstage, where everything that needs to make what the customer experiences possible happens. We can also think of the layout in the following way. The right-hand side is focused on how desirable our products and services are to customers. The left-hand side is focused on the feasibility, or how to make the right-hand side possible and optimised. And the bottom section, which looks at the financial aspects of the business, is to examine how viable or profitable the business is likely to be. As I mentioned, we'll deal with the left-hand side of the business model canvas in Learning Task 2. So let's dive into the segments of the business model canvas that appear on the right-hand side. The right-hand side of the business model canvas has 5 sections: customer segments, customer relationships, value propositions, channels, and revenue streams. Let's go through each segment to understand what each is focused on. As you remember from the customer focus credential, the customer is always our starting point, and we can understand what value we might generate for our customer by identifying their gains, pains, and jobs. The customer profile tool that you covered in the customer focus credential can be thought of as a plug-in to this section of the business model canvas. It's a good idea to start your business model canvas with a completed customer profile. But what exactly are customers? Simply put, they're the people and/or organisations that you aim to serve and reach. You can approach this by thinking about the different types of people or different types of organisations who might value your products and services. Alternatively, sometimes you can identify an unmet need for a particular group or organisation and create a product or service that addresses that need. When thinking about customers, it's not always straightforward though. There are a number of different types of customers or different roles that need to be considered. Typically, when we think of customers, we think of end users. These are the people who directly interact with your products and services. However, they are not always the ones that make the buying decisions on their own. Influencers aren't just people with loads of Instagram followers or celebrities. They might be a friend, a colleague, or a family member who influences tastes and awareness of your products and services. A key example of an influencer is a child who might pester their parents to buy them a particular product. Recommenders can also influence buying decisions, but in a more direct way than influencers. For example, in a corporate environment, the IT manager might have a recommender role on which computers the company should buy. Economic buyers are often people who control budgets or purchasing decisions. For example, a chief financial officer in a corporate setting might set the maximum price they are willing to pay, or they might affect the timing of purchasing. Insurance companies might play the role of economic buyer when they make decisions based on the service providers for their customers. And finally, decision makers are the people with the final say on purchases. They might be the CEO of a company, a manager, or a parent or grandparent deciding what gift to purchase for a child. Understanding their motivations and decision logic is very important, as they ultimately hold the purse strings. In addition to all the different customer roles, you might also seek to serve different people or different organisations. For example, you might have different versions of your products with different features or different price points to appeal to different types of customers. One example of this is that a hotel might have a fine dining restaurant to appeal to business executives or to couples wanting a romantic dinner. They might also have a bistro aimed at families and a bar designed for singles and younger people. In identifying each of your different customer segments, you will list different ones if you offer or fill different needs or provide different value propositions, you reach them through significantly different channels, you manage the relationships with these customers in significantly different ways, or they provide significantly different revenues. We will discuss each of these different factors as we discuss each respective section of the business model canvas. We now turn to our next section, what our value propositions are. A value proposition is how you solve the need or problem for the customer. The most important thing to remember about value propositions is that they are from the perspective of the customer. This means that you need to understand what your customer gets from your products or services and what value you provide. Sometimes people mistake the features of their products as their value proposition, but this is not the case. You need to think about the experience of the customer and what needs or wants you are satisfying. The value map is one way you can approach thinking about your value propositions. Starting from your customer profile, identify which jobs your products and services help customers achieve and how these jobs are achieved. Identify what gains your products and services create for customers and what pains they relieve. For example, in the case of the fine dining restaurant targeting business executives, your value proposition might be a centrally located, quiet location for meetings that offers prestige and a dining experience that makes your client feel valued and respected. In addition to building your value propositions from your customer profile, you can also consider the different ways to create value for a customer. These are newness. For example, offering a solution to an unserviced need or creating a type of problem and then solving it. An example of this is that mobile phones created a whole new industry and ethical investment firms created a new form of investing. Performance. Improving something of value to a customer, e.g., by making it faster, bigger, or smaller. Customization. This involves tailoring a product or service to the particular needs of a customer. Simply just getting the job done. This can be of high value to customers. For example, a home cleaning service allows customers to achieve their desire to live in a tidy, hygienic space without having to expend time and energy to do it themselves. Translation services enabled customers to provide materials in languages where they don't have this capability. Design. In some cases, good design can create value. For example, key value propositions for Apple products are their look and functional design. In industries such as fashion and homewares, design is a central value proposition. Brand or status. Brands can help customers connect to certain values, express some aspect of themselves, or provide a sense of belonging to a group. For example, a Rolex watch can signify wealth and prestige, while some brands of clothing or footwear can be considered cool. Price. Offering similar value at a lower price compared to other options can add value. Lower prices can also open up new customers for your products. For example, low-cost airlines have made air travel affordable for people for whom it was beyond their means previously. Cost reduction. Helping customers reduce costs is a key value generator. For example, accounting software helps enterprises manage their own accounting and taxation requirements, reducing the need for creating their own accounting systems or hiring in these services. Risk reduction. Some products and services directly help customers reduce risks. Examples include insurance, car seats for babies, auditing services, guarantees and warranties. Other products help mitigate or share risk. For example, by outsourcing, customers place some onus on their providers to be accountable for risks and access resources that they might not have in-house. Accessibility. Providing access to products and services can create value for customers. Some examples include importing products from other countries that currently aren't available, providing online training that enables anyone globally to access it, and superannuation funds that enable anyone to access professionally managed, diversified investment portfolios. Convenience or usability. Making things easier to use or more convenient can create substantial value. For example, iTunes and Spotify eliminated the need to purchase music on physical media such as CD, and ready meals eliminate the need to prepare and cook food. Our next segment is the channel segment. Like the truck icon suggests, this section of the business model canvas is focused on how you deliver your value proposition to customers. You can think of channels as the vehicles that connect your products and services to customers. We think of channels across the timeline of the customer experience, starting with, firstly, discovery. What channels might help customers become aware of you? This might include things like advertising, social media, promotional activities, or just by providing your products and services in shops so people can see them. Evaluation. This is focused on what might help customers decide to purchase your products and services. So this might include things like information on your website, sales brochures, sales staff, or in-store displays. Purchasing. This includes where customers can actually purchase your items, for example, through retail outlets or by online, and all the elements that go into optimizing this for customers. For example, the payment terms, the availability of options, and customer service. Delivery. This includes all the logistics involved in stocking the items into shops, shipping online purchases, and account management for services. And after sales. This includes all the resources for any servicing, maintenance and repairs, and customer support services. We now turn to customer relationships. The customer relationship segment is focused on how you actually connect with your customers. Like channels, we think about customer connections across the timeline of the customer journey. We think of customer relationships in 3 phases: acquisition, or how do we get customers? Retention, or how do we keep our customers? And boosting sales, or how we grow our relationship with our customers. In the get component, we are thinking about the resources we will use to acquire and activate our new customers. This can sometimes be similar to the discovery component of our channels, and it will include ways to generate awareness and interest in our products and services, and how to convert interest into paying customers. For example, a technique often used in software is the freemium model, where you can trial a product for free for a limited period or access scaled back versions of the products. Keep strategies aim to enable customers to maintain their interest and keep them purchasing. This might include activities such as loyalty programs, customer databases, direct marketing to customers, and customer discounts. Grow strategies are ways to build on existing customer purchases. This can include things like upsells, for example, the famous "Do you want fries with that?" Recommendations, such as "You might also like," and referral techniques. The customer relationship segment of your business model canvas needs to cover how you will get the attention of potential customers, how you will convert this attention into purchase, how you're going to retain or keep these customers, and how you're going to build and expand the relationship with your customers. Our final section of the business model canvas right-hand side is our revenue streams. Simply speaking, revenue streams looks at how you will make money, including the different types and mechanisms of pricing. The aim is to optimize not only the amount you can charge, but the way you can charge, and this can have a significant impact on the success of the business model. When thinking about revenue streams, there's a few different options we can think of. The first type is the kind that we would normally think of when we buy something at the shops. It's what's called an asset sale. So any sale of goods is considered an asset sale because you actually take ownership of those goods. So an example is when you buy a car or buy a computer or buying food. Our second option is what we call a usage fee. This is where you actually generate revenue based on the use of a good or service. So some examples might be thinking about your mobile phone data consumption. You pay per set of data. Or if you're in the freight delivery business, you would be charged based on the actual mileage or the delivery of a particular package. A subscription-based model is where you're offering a non-exclusive recurring access to a good or service. So this is something like your Netflix subscription or your Spotify subscription, a gym membership, or a magazine subscription. Lending, renting, or leasing is where you're offering the exclusive access to a particular good or service for over a period of time. So most of us would be familiar with renting a car or, for example, renting storage space or an apartment even. Licensing is where we're actually getting permission or providing permission to use the intellectual property owned by the venture. So some examples of that might be where Disney licenses McDonald's to use their artwork or their characters on Happy Meals, or where Swinburne has a licensing arrangement with Microsoft Office to provide those services to students. Advertising is where you're actually getting revenue for exposure to your audience. You might have advertising on your website, or if you've got some kind of social media platform, others might pay you to promote their services. This is the business model for services like Google AdWords, for Facebook ads, and things like Gumtree. And finally, we have commission or brokerage fees. This is where you are charging based on being an intermediary between two parties. This might be the case that you can think of for credit card companies, for booking sites, so things like Webjet or Trivago, things like Airbnb or Uber make a commission based on the actual sale of goods between two parties. And in addition to thinking about the types of revenue that you might charge, there's also different pricing mechanisms. So we have either fixed pricing or dynamic pricing, and I'll just go through some of the different options that are available. So in terms of fixed pricing, most of us would be used to thinking about a list price, where you go into a shop or you go online and there's a set price for the actual products or services. We can also have pricing mechanisms based on the actual features of the product. So this is where the price depends on the number or quality of the actual value proposition features. So you might think of this when you're buying a new phone. Maybe there's different price points and different options based on the storage, or you might buy software based on certain features that are available on that software. Customer segment dependent is where your price depend on the type of the customer and the characteristics. So you might give a student discount, for example, or you might have a seniors discount, or you might have different pricing for corporate rates, for example. And then the other pricing mechanism that's based on fixed pricing is where it's volume dependent. So this is where you might get a bulk purchase discount, or you might have, different price points based on the amount of something that somebody purchases. When we think about our dynamic pricing, there's basic negotiation or bargaining where you would negotiate with the other party. You might be able to come up with a better price. Yield management is based on the actual inventory. So this is where airlines might discount in advance of purchase. So the further in advance that you pay for a flight, it might be cheaper, or it might drop significantly at the last minute. So this is often used in hotel room bookings, where the price will vary based on also how popular it is. So at peak times, say like Christmas periods, you'll find that the rooms are more expensive than in more quiet times. Real-time market is where we set a price dynamically based on supply and demand. So this is where things like stock prices might be considered a good example. Things like Bitcoin, where there's dynamics in the market that can be measured in real time and the price can be adjusted accordingly. And then we're all probably familiar with the format of an auction, where you've got different bidders competing each other to outprice each other. So let's finish off with an example to pull this all together and see what it looks like once it's all completed. I'm using here the example of Uber, which operates in what we call a two-sided marketplace, which means that they act as an intermediary between two types of customers, in this case, drivers and passengers. In terms of the customer segments and thinking back up to their jobs, pains and gains, when we think of the drivers, they're going to be people who are wanting to earn extra money and people who are wanting flexible work. In terms of the passengers, we've got different types of customers. So we might have people who go out partying late at night. We might have people dining out, having a few drinks, wanting to get home. People who don't own a car. And business people who would normally just use a taxi. Then turning to the value proposition that Uber provides for each of these customer segments. So in terms of the drivers, key value propositions are the ability to earn extra money, the ability to work for yourself, and flexible working hours. In terms of the passengers, it's things like lower cost trips compared to taxis or driving yourself potentially, the driver ratings that gives peace of mind and a bit of safety. A more modern taxi experience, particularly when they first launched, they were a more modern experience, particularly because of their easy payments. Then if we look at the channels and we think about our 5 phases, discovery, evaluation, purchasing, delivery, and after sales. In terms of the discovery phase, advertising, word of mouth, and media and public relations are really key ways that Uber builds the discovery and awareness of their products and services. In terms of evaluation, so converting people who might become customers into actually customers, again, word of mouth and information on their website are key here, as well as free trials that they offer. When we get to the purchasing and delivery side of things, the app is their key mechanism here. And then when it comes to after sales, we've got customer support and the reviews and ratings system. Turning then to customer relationships, and what you'll see here is that there's really strong integration between the customer relationship mechanisms and the channel mechanisms. And this is where Uber is a good example of a really well integrated system in terms of their business model. So when we think about our get, keep, grow strategies, Uber's key get strategies, similar to their discovery and evaluation, is advertising, word of mouth, media and public relations, the free trial, and the website. Key keep strategies are a referral system that they have, which is also key to their grow, and their customer support. So this is where they maintain the relationship with their customers. And then their key grow strategies are, as I mentioned, the referral. And a new strategy that they've recently employed in the last year or two is the ability for drivers to actually earn tips, which is a way of drivers being able to upsell based on the service that they provide. Then when we turn to the revenue streams of Uber, there's a couple of strategies they use. First of all, they have a couple of different levels of service. So there's the basic, which is what they call Uber X. Then they've got Uber Black and different levels of service so that you can increase either to a more prestigious vehicle or a different size vehicle. And there's different tiers of revenue based on those different options. They also operate this surge pricing mechanism, which means that it's a mechanism that is based on supply and demand. So when there's more demand for their services, they can charge higher prices. And they've also started diversifying into different types of services with different revenue streams as well. So we now have Uber Eats, which is quite common, and in other areas across the globe, they also provide cargo services. And of course, their primary revenue stream is the commission that they make on each sale as a percentage of the ride sale price. So now it's over to you to start thinking about what your customer segments, value propositions, channels, customer relationships, and revenue streams for your idea will be.